Hey YouTube, Scott Off-Road. How you doing today? Oh, it is a beautiful Saturday afternoon, and we're outside just working on the vehicles and ran into a problem with the paint. It's something I've seen coming up for a while. I was wanting to see if it got better. I talked to the painter and he gave me an idea of what to do with it because he was kind of stumped, but it's a bigger problem than I anticipated, and I think it's bigger than what the painter anticipated. So it's going back to the painter next week to see what can be done to fix it. So let me take you out to the Jeep and I'll walk you around and show you what it was. Alright, as we're coming out here on this front bumper here, you can see the rust on that coming through. I'm guessing right here he didn't get a real good coat on it is what it looks like, which isn't a big deal. What I'm more concerned about though is along this front leading edge. You can see it right here coming through, and along here that it's starting to rust. Initially what I noticed about a week or two after I got it back is this rust stain down here. And what I was told is this seam is where it couldn't be sealed quite right, and that's what's causing it, and there's nothing can be done about it. Maybe try putting some silicone in there. So I don't know if you can see the silicone, but the more I think about it and thought about it, the more that's not right. I just paid to have this painted. I'm not going to have the rust coming through all right here. And then when you come up to the snorkel, this bracket he welded onto the tub or into the windshield frame, and in the right light, and if you're up close, you can see there's rust all inside this crack here, and there's pinholes here that's starting to rust. On the passenger door here, this was supposed to have been welded, and I don't know, he may have welded, but it's cracked and it's rusting. Down here is a pinhole, a couple pinholes that are starting to rust, and in the shade, I don't know if you can see that or not. I kind of understand right here and along the bolts where they rub when you screwed them in that they rust. I kind of get that. I'm not as worried about that. But along this leading edge here, there's a couple areas where it's starting to rust. And even on the back side here, it's starting to rust. You can see it trailing down there. Then as we come around the back bumper, you can see all the rust up along this. And he was, part of the job was to sand and fix, or sand and coat this back bumper as well. And as you can see, it just doesn't look like it was coated very well. And then on this other fender, if you look close, there's areas here where there is some surface rust coming in, or some rust coming through on this seam. Along the bottom of the passenger front fender, the front fenders are worse than the back fenders. The back fenders just have traces of it. And then coming up, as you come around this front edge here, again, this one's not as bad, but there's, in the right light, you can see along this edge, on the right edge inside the front fender. Well, so we just got back from the painter, and this is what we were basically told. He nor any of the other companies that he uses as a model warranty rust. So I asked him, I was talking to him about ideas on how to fix it, and one of the things we talked about was on the underneath side of the fenders where the panels are welded together. 3M makes a seam sealer that is an epoxy, two-part epoxy. You have to have a special gun to apply it. And he goes, well, I never thought about putting anything in there. Other vehicles I've done that have similar fenders to yours are having the same issues. Had I known that this was going to be an issue, I would have probably suggested that we do that. So I asked him, okay, I understand that you didn't know this was an issue. If I pay for the sealant, will you apply it and will you touch up the paint? So we talked for about a half an hour about it. He kept telling me, yeah, you can do that. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, you can do that. I mentioned or brought to his attention a pinhole that he filled that's rusting, the door that he was supposed to have fixed that's rusting. And he said, well, your door broke and that's rust. I brought up the snorkel mount on the windshield frame and he goes, well, I must not have gotten enough primer in there. I guess we can just wipe it off with a rag and just clear coat over it and that'll be enough. When I talked to him about doing underneath the fenders where we're getting the rust coming through, he's like, I was talking about sanding it. He goes, oh no, you don't need to sand it. I just wipe it off and make sure it's clean and then put the sealant in there. Every time we talked about it, it was, you can do this, you can do this. So again, I asked him, okay, what about you painted this? If I pay for the extra materials, will you handle the labor? Nope, I got to pay and charge you labor too. I've paid him once. I paid for the job to be done right. That's why I paid him and I didn't just fart around and try doing it. So the front fenders were welded on. I'll cut the welds. I'm going to clean up on the back sides, the underneath sides that were never done. And I'll put the seam sealer in. That'll be another video. And then I'll touch up the paint myself. Again, that will be another video. As always, like, subscribe, follow, comment below. Look for the fixing the rust video on the Jeep. So have a good one.